Is there a secret alien base located underneath the White House? Did humans evolve from monkeys, or did monkeys evolve from humans? All of these questions you can find the answer to on this Paranormal Life! Hello everyone and welcome back to This Paranormal Life, the comedy paranormal podcast where every week myself and my associate Kit Greer investigate a brand new paranormal case and come to a conclusion at the end to decide whether or not it truly is paranormal.
Aliens in the White House? I do quite like that because Americans are really obsessed with the White House. The president
it's a cool house.
Practically won't leave the friggin' place. Why are they so attached to it?
Right.
What's there? What's under it? I like where your head's at.
Right. That's the one that grabbed you, the two intro questions, not did
Honestly, don't remember the second one.
Did monkeys evolve from us?
Yeah, no.
Because people think that we came
that's
from
a
monkeys.
non-starter. I think that is a non-starter for sure.
Okay.
You think we came first?
Yeah.
Prometheus style?
And monkeys are the next
A
step.
human pissed in a river? I think that was the plot of Prometheus. And then you came from that?
Look, if you look at a silverback gorilla,
Yeah.
you're telling me that's a downgrade? I would kill to be that jacked.
So that's where this is coming from?
Eating
You want to be a
bananas all
gorilla?
day? Yeah. I think I'd like to be a gorilla.
Yeah, I've seen memes to that effect. You know, we're going, poor monkeys and gorillas. They're not as smart as we are. And the monkeys are like, you're the only monkeys on this planet that pay for water. It's like, all right, fair point. I'll take that.
Yeah, you guys look down on me, and 3 of you serve me fruit every day. Like you're my little monkey butlers. So I'm doing fine. You know what happens when you throw your own shit? You go to prison. I live in a prison already. It's called zoo. So I can do whatever I want. I can throw as much shit as I want.
I shoot him with a trunk gun, stop him from talking. Hey, I'm just cheating. Oh.
I'm excited to be back, Kit, and investigating a brand new paranormal tale because recently we've been doing a lot of cases on cryptids, aliens, UFOs, but we're missing one of the key foundations of the paranormal world, and that is ghosts and poltergeists. It feels like it's been so long since we've done a case that has a good old-fashioned haunting.
Yeah, I think we've kind of publicly and loudly talked about how we don't like covering ghost cases recently. But let's set the record straight today. I think we have humorously perpetrated this myth that we don't like covering ghosts because I guess maybe we feel like part of the idea of what we're doing here is trying to get double yeses on the board, right? Trying proven real paranormal cases. And sometimes we feel like it's harder to get that with ghosts. But it's not to say we don't love those cases and aren't fascinated by them. It's just, let's face it, a lot of crazy UFO shit has been happening in recent years. So we got a little preoccupied.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Well, I'm hoping that maybe today we can change your mind and finally get a double yes. Because we got an email to thisparanormallifepodcast@gmail.com from Margaret, who said, "Hi, Kit and Rory. I used to be acquainted with a Catholic demonologist, and I thought you might find a case that he once worked on interesting. The Demon House of Brownsville Road."
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
I used to drive by this house almost every week when I was in high school, and I had no idea I was driving past a hive of literal demons. My demonologist friend, of course, agreed that the house was possessed, but I'd like to see some paranormal professionals like yourselves take a hard look at the case.
Say less, Margaret. That sounds really interesting. I mean, we've talked a little bit on the show before about how, hey, I was raised Catholic household, Catholic school. I always thought that was a bad thing. Bit boring, for one. 2, international crime. 3, lots of reasons that Martin Luther in the 1700s or whatever the that was illustrated. But actually, I've kind of, in the way that, faith is a circular kind of thing, I've realized in recent years, not that I believe in it all, but Catholicism is kind of the most dope from a paranormal perspective. Because while other religions don't necessarily believe in a lot of paranormal stuff, for some reason, Catholicism, they believe in everything.
Right,
and not
demons.
only that, they have Salesforce tower level organizations with thousands of employees that are dedicated solely to solving paranormal mysteries, it seems.
Which is pretty badass. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of the other mainstream religions do that.
So in case anyone was wondering, if Catholic demonologists sounded a bit wild and out there, it's kind of not. There are people who really study this stuff.
Well, I'm very excited today to be helping Margaret with her little problem. Unfortunately, we did get this email in 2019, so she is most likely dead by now, probably ripped apart by demons when she tried to knock on the front door.
Right, we didn't get in touch quick enough. One day she was like, I'll just knock the door. I'll just say, hey, I'm here in the neighborhood. I'm here if you need me. Oh! Ripped to shreds by demons.
Bursts into flames as soon as she hits the Amazon Ring doorbell. We also got this case sent in from Cron and Austin Harvey. So thank you to all those individuals. I'm sorry it took us so long to get to this Cron, but we are excited.
Smoking on the Cron pack.
We're excited to be diving into this investigation right after a few words from today's sponsors. Our story today kicks off way back in 1988 when Bob Cranmer and his wife Lisa moved back to Bob's hometown of Pittsburgh. When it came to house hunting, Bob only had one property in mind, 3406 Brownsville Road. Bob had often passed by the beautiful 3-story house as a child and had always dreamed of one day being able to call it home. So when Bob heard that this house was back on the market, he and his family immediately booked a viewing. Well, here she is, a stunning 3-floor craftsman-style home built all the way back in 1909. But let me tell you, it feels like it was built yesterday.
Oh, I know. I've wanted this house ever since I was a kid.
Well, you're lucky. It just came back on the market yesterday for no particular reason at all. Yep, just a normal house, for sale, for normal reasons. Bob was obviously excited about the home, but there were a few things that seemed off to him. Firstly, the current owners seemed very anxious to sell and move out. His wife Lisa insisted that the house was too big and, quote, gave her the creeps.
It is true. It's like whenever you're selling something yourself on the internet, what everyone wants is buying a car that's one lady owner. They want a car that's never been driven in its life. If you're moving house, you don't tell them about the problems. You highlight all the good bits. Hey, if it were up to me, I'd die in this house. I love this house so friggin' much.
That's how you sell it, yeah.
I'm from Lithuania, and I gotta go back to Lithuania. You make up something.
Yeah, reason why you have to part with your most beloved thing ever. It's like when I had to sell my pit bull, Hades. And, the buyers came out and they were like, are you sure he's had all his shots? He's foaming at the mouth. And I was like, oh, if only I could keep him. But my new landlord won't let me have Hades in my new apartment. So I have to get rid of him.
Hades, down, boy!
And I'm covered in bite marks. I'm barely holding on to the chain as he's trying to attack these poor people. But you gotta say if I could only keep him because I just love him so much and he's never attacked me. And I have to live in one room of the house while Hades lives in the other 4.
Yeah.
Because he's the king of the house.
You look malnourished and he looks really well fed too.
He feeds me at dinner time. I have a bowl on the ground.
I buy groceries and I buy dog food, but he eats all the groceries and all there is left is dog food.
The crackers aren't so bad. The little ones shaped like bones, they're fine.
He takes my wallet every payday. He doesn't have use for money and yet he still takes it.
But I wish I could keep him. Oh, but do you want Hades? For free. I'll pay you to take him. Hades, pay the man. Unfortunately, things got even more complicated with Bob's son, who's called Bobby Jr. For short, in this episode, we'll just call him BJ.
Fine.
You got a problem with BJ?
I don't. I didn't say anything. You obviously are setting me up to have a problem with it.
I'm not. It's a totally normal name. Bob had always wanted a BJ.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In memory of his father.
Okay.
During the first viewing of the house, BJ wandered off by himself, while the rest of the group went to the basement. When they emerged, they found him standing at the top of the stairs, crying. His breathing was rapid, almost like he was hyperventilating.
Oh.
When asked about what was wrong, he claimed simply, "I saw a ghost."
Whoa. Right there in that moment?
Yeah. Not a good sign, by the way. If you're having paranormal experiences during the house viewing,
which is presumably during bright daylight hours as well.
Yeah, the ghosts are pissed at you for even entering the home, not even owning the home or living in it. You just stop by to grab a cup of coffee and check out the basement, and they're already turning up.
You know it's bad when the ghosts don't even respect the fundamental storytelling of horror movies. Everyone knows you wait until that family starts moving boxes in. Wow, sweetie, we're going to have a great life living here, aren't we? And then the ghosts start cracking their knuckles. They didn't even wait for that. They're like, as you say, pizza delivery guy, knock, knock. Whoa, oh, shit.
Yeah.
They're just, anyone who comes near this thing, they are going for them.
Yeah, there's a rhythm to this. You start small, you work your way up, and then after a year, the family have gone insane and they have to move out.
Yes.
Day 1, BJ got punched by a ghost, punched in the side of the head. Now, Bob was a smart guy, and he decided at this point to ask the seller if there was anything wrong with the house. Strangely, the seller responded by saying the house was fine, and that Catholic Mass was conducted several times in the living room.
No, all right. Well, we're going to need to ask more questions. Why does he know that? He's not the owner of the house, right? He's the
estate agent.
He shouldn't know that. Yeah. I love that, though. We talked about, accentuating the highlights. He took the fact that there was multiple exorcisms, and he's like, this place is so nice. They blessed it twice during a sermon.
Yeah, usually if I ask, is everything okay with the house? I just expect, is there any mold, maybe?
Yes.
Or structurally, are the foundations okay?
Yep.
I don't want to hear, demon-free. Because that implies there was a demon that was here. Yeah. That was here, and you think you got rid of them, but I'm not sure, because they're kind of sneaky. They're kind of tricky like that.
I will say, your son views the house with you, says he saw a ghost mid-viewing. As someone who has been house hunting for a couple of years now, with my daughter in some cases, and she usually goes buck wild in the houses. Not usually because I think she sees a ghost. I think she's just like, this is a playground to me. I'm going to start smashing shit.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, whether or not I scratch that house off my list is probably based on how old the son is in this case. In my case, if a 2-year-old says, I saw a ghost, you're like, sure you did, sweetie. Here's an iPad. Watch Bluey. If a 17-year-old man is like, Father, I saw a ghost. He was in the front room. He winked at me.
I don't know. I think any kind of paranormal activity during a house viewing is maybe enough to kind of draw that one off the list for me.
I guess it depends on how hot the property market is, if this is, how good is that deal, Was the price right?
The problem is, even though this was an odd response, Bob loved the house, and his love for it was strong enough that he decided to look past all of these red flags. So, Bob put in a lowball offer for the property, assuming there would be a bit of haggling. However, the owners immediately accepted. Another bit of a red flag there. If you're putting in your lowball offer and they're like, done, taken, yep, good.
$1. We'll take it.
So Bob, his wife, and 4 children moved into their new home. And it wasn't long before they realized why the previous owners wanted out so fast. Like most of our stories involving haunted homes, things started small. The closet in the house had a light with a pull string attached to it. So if you wanted to turn on the light, you'd simply pull the string. However, every time the family opened the closet, the string was wrapped around the light. This little inconvenience sounds small, but it was merely the spark that would set the fiery wrath of the haunting ablaze. The house became home to regular small-scale paranormal activity, objects moving around the home, strange noises at night. Paranormal activity became so commonplace that Bob openly joked about how they, quote, shared their home with a spirit.
It's a bad start, isn't it? I mean, when you start having to address the elephant in the room, because for those first couple of days, everyone's trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
And then at the dinner table, Bob's like, everyone's like silently eating dinner, and he's like, all right, look, let's address the elephant. The place is haunted. All right, nothing I can do about it, nothing you can do about it. Everybody eat. Bobby Jr.'s like, but Dad, eat! Bobby Jr.! A ghost keeps moving around the chicken around the plate. For damn sake, Bobby, eat the chicken.
Yeah, the dad's like, it's like, look, there was nothing we could have done about it. We didn't know. BJ's like, I saw a ghost. I told you I saw a f***ing ghost in the hallway. Not now, Bobby Jr. A ghost has him in a headlock. Not now. Do you think this is appropriate?
I like this absurd situation. Bobby Jr. is being held upside down from the second floor window by a ghost. Bobby Jr., stop trying to get my attention. I don't care. Get back inside. I can't get back inside.
We get it. You saw the ghost. You were warned. I didn't listen. Whatever. It's fine. You'll be all right. As I said, they commonly talked about sharing their home with a spirit, but whatever this thing was, it was more than a spirit. And yes, every day it was wrapping the closet string around the light.
We are too far into this episode to be talking about that. We have to ramp things up. I'm worried. I know you said things were going to start small, but I'm getting a little worried if the string thing we all kind of breeze past. But if that keeps getting mentioned, I'm a little worried.
You don't think that is a clear sign of paranormal a pretty devastating sign of paranormal activity?
No.
Because the string, if you're just pulling it down and up again, it really should never get tangled around the light. That's crazy. So just don't be worried if that comes up a few more times, because it truly is a paranormal phenomenon.
It's not that crazy. Whenever I go into my bathroom at home, you know, often the toilet roll tube will be flipped round the wrong way.
Holy
shit. The
shit.
paper's coming down the back.
You got a ghost, brother.
That's just the way my wife leaves it whenever she takes it on and off. It turns out we have differing views on this.
Wait, what? What?
What I'm saying is, in this household, it is at this stage just more likely that someone has a weird thing where because to me, my version of this is the toilet roll tube being the wrong way around. To me, that should have been a ghost, because there's no logic on this earth which would dictate putting the toilet roll tube, the paper hanging back the way.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
So you got to reach around and
But it turns out it wasn't paranormal. It was just someone's proclivity. So I'm wondering if that's what the kind of thing is happening here. Maybe Bobby Jr., it's a little just tick. He doesn't even know he's doing it. He just, and then just whoosh, wraps it round, closes the door.
It was a ghost. It was a spirit. I'm going to make that very clear probably in the next few paragraphs.
I mean, hopefully you will. I hope to hell you will.
The following spring, while doing some yard work, Bob discovered a small metal box buried in the front yard of the home. He opened it up to discover a collection of religious items, crosses, rosary beads, etc. Thinking that this could have belonged to the previous owners, Bob called them and asked about the box. Their reply was simple. The house is fine. Put the box back where you found it. Not great. Not a great response if you find a buried box of religious items. So they know about the box?
Yeah.
They presumably buried the box?
It is actually subtly mixed messaging as well. The house is fine. Okay, so I can throw out the box. Don't throw the box away.
If you want to die, so the house isn't fine.
Put the box back.
The house is fine because the box is buried.
Listen, guy, we've done a lot of the hard work around here, so just be normal. Ignore the string. How do you know about the string? Ignore the string. Watch a football game and drink a beer, Einstein. And sure, put about 16 rosary beads around your neck like it's Mardi Gras. You're gonna need them. Dad, why are you wearing this? Bobby, if you don't eat that chicken, I am going to flip.
I will end your life, Bobby. I'll be the ghost in your life. You don't do what I say.
Wear the beads, eat the chicken.
I'll bury you in the garden, Bobby, along with the box. What box? It doesn't matter. The house is fine, Bobby.
He's so committed. You don't understand the interest rate I secured on this mortgage. I can't sell the house.
Dad, I was just down in the basement and I tried to turn on the Bobby. If you say one more word about that string, your old man's gonna lose it. They've been in the house 45 minutes.
He goes full Jack Nicholson mode. Bobby Jr. sees his dad just out in the garden, smashing the house, smashing the light and the string to bits with an axe. The movers haven't left yet. They're still packing boxes.
Even though they said things were fine, obviously they were not, and they were only getting worse. The family had started to see figures drifting around the house. Objects were being thrown across rooms, and every single time they went into the closet,
Don't you dare!
String was wrapped around the light.
So long to be talking about the string whenever the way more interesting things just happen.
That's
objects being thrown across the room.
That's the needle. That's the needle in the mind.
Shadow people moving around the house.
Yeah, because it's all of that. It's coming at you. It's a lot to deal with, but you think you'll be fine. You think you'll be okay. Keep your head down. Go into the closet, and the string is wrapped around the light.
Bob has like actually wrangled the shadow people into helping him. He's like, so you stand in the closet. So you stand in the closet. I'll turn off the light and then I'll close the door and you tell me if it's wrapped around. Oh my God. He's like, I could take the shadow people, but the light.
Hey, we were talking about this the other day because I recently got back from vacation and we were just at Fringe in Scotland.
Don't I know? I've got a friendship bracelet.
Yay! That's actually really wholesome.
It's actually slightly distracting for a podcast because it is a little bit
I bought
shaky.
everyone on the team puka shell bracelets for my vacation.
Whoa. What the
Yes.
Well,
So I got-
everyone on the team. The show is me and you.
Yeah.
So me and you, Kit
I
and
got
Rory,
one.
friendship, best friend bracelets.
He's
Hell
wearing
yeah.
it. I actually didn't think he was going to wear it. So yeah.
So,
And I got one for Phil as well.
huh?
Just as a treat.
That's funny, bro. That's funny. It
Actually-
wouldn't be a friendship bracelet. I mean, if you got them for everybody, it wouldn't really be a friendship bracelet.
You can have
would
more
it,
than
sir?
one friend.
Huh?
It's fine. You can have more than one friend. Actually, hey, Phil.
Yo, Phil, have you?
Phil. Phil. Are you wearing your bracelet? He wasn't wearing it. He
You got a
wasn't wearing
bracelet?
it.
Oh, this is all kinds of. And let me just remind you, Rory, as all right, I think it's all become clear. So
Phil, give me back the bracelet. Give me back the bracelet. You just lost your privileges.
because
It's done.
because
cool.
that's what a friendship bracelet is for.
Yep, you just lost it.
Best friends only.
Well,
Best friends only. It is like marriage. You see this ring? I could honestly take off the ring. I could take off the ring because marriage is whatever. But friendship, that is forever.
I think marriage should be a type of friendship as well.
Friendship bracelets, that is a sacred bond between two individuals who pledge their lives to each other, brother.
I got it in the airport for $1.
It doesn't matter where it hurts to hear, but it also doesn't matter where it came from. Dude,
I was
because
literally about to board the flight, and I was like,
it
"Shit, I didn't
bonds me
get-
to you
I
by
didn't get
blood.
anything
Till
to get.
death do we part.
Not for
sickness
blood.
and in health.
In shells, maybe we're bonded, not with blood or anything like that.
Can I
so-
wear Phil's bracelet too?
Honestly, yeah, it's fine.
You could have put one on the other hand. It'll just make me. I think I'll feel even more connected to you. Do you want my wedding ring? I don't need it anymore.
I'm fine.
Okay, I'll put it back on.
I'm fine. Do you want my wedding ring?
So honestly, Phil could take the wedding ring. It's so meaningless to me now.
All right, where was I?
Sorry,
the string wrapped around the
have
leg.
been away.
Oh, yes. You were saying that the string isn't a big deal, that it wouldn't be enough. Why am I bringing it up? It's not enough to be a part of this
Right, okay.
conversation. The last few days have been very chaotic with coming back and recording and bringing in all the gear and doing everything. And at the same time, I've had a little bit of a cold. And all of the stressful stuff in my life, the big stuff, that's not really the thing that's bothering me. It's that every 20 seconds, I have to blow my f***ing nose and
Yes.
cough. That's the part that's driving me crazy. So maybe seeing shadow people at the dinner table with you and seeing ghosts and hearing noises isn't what's doing it. It's the fact that every time they try and get a hat or a coat to leave the house, the string is wrapped around the light.
This is a reach, but objection sustained. I would agree.
I'll take it. Well, to be honest, maybe it wasn't just the light. Because Bob and his family were also waking up with scratches all over their bodies.
That is a big. You have to admit that's a bigger deal.
That is a little, yeah, even I will admit, that's pretty bad. There were crucifixes torn off the walls. And one morning, Bob woke up and he'd been flipped upside down.
Nah. All right.
His feet were on the pillow and his head was at the bottom.
I think you were gonna say I usually sleep on my back, but I was face down on my pillow on my front. That's still not really weird enough. Scratches is fine.
No, this is
I'll
what I
accept.
thought. No,
Objects moving.
I thought the exact same thing. That isn't weird enough. But I have never woken up with
No,
my
it's true.
feet
It's
on my
never
pillow.
happened. It's
That
never
is
happened.
insane. One room in particular seemed to be overflowing with negative energy. It was known as the Blue Room. It was the children's bedroom on the second floor, named the Blue Room because when they moved in, it had blue wallpaper and a blue carpet.
Classic.
But for whatever reason, the demonic presence in the house loved this room. And by the end of their stay, every one of the kids refused to sleep in the Blue Room after complaining about strange noises, objects moving. There was even reports of a shadowy figure standing above one of the children's beds, watching them while they slept.
Oh, Jesus.
Not great vibes. I can see why the kids would want to move out of that room. I don't think it's a spoiler to reveal that Bob eventually wrote an entire book about his time in this house. And I genuinely believe if we want to understand just how insane living in this house was, the best thing we can do is read some passages from the book.
Yeah, straight from the horse's mouth.
I'll warn you by prefacing, this book is insane, by the way. It feels like the diary of a scientist from a Resident Evil game.
Chapters 1 through 12 are mostly about the string, but once we get past that, it gets pretty interesting.
All right, these are actual passages from the book. As Charlie went into the small bedroom to practice guitar, he discovered that the crucifix had been thrown off the wall and was lying face down in the middle of the floor. Where the crucifix had hung, there were drops of splattered blood running down the wall.
What?
As he sat there and played, he heard what sounded like nails being scratched across the wall. That night, as I was lying in bed, I was scratched on the leg so hard it woke me up. It felt as if I'd been jabbed with a needle or a sharp pin. This thing was moving around the house at will, displaying what seemed to be a temper tantrum. I could almost feel its frustration, which convinced me that we had to push back and persevere. We all wore our crosses, but Bobby's cross didn't want to stay in place. Keep your f***ing cross on, Bobby! Even though the chain was small enough that it couldn't fit over his head, it consistently came off while he slept. One morning, the cross would be on the floor. Another morning, he and I found it between the mattress and the box springs. A few days later, we found the cross both removed and folded in half upon itself as if it had been placed in a vise and bent with pliers.
Jesus. I know I'm projecting here because I'm not particularly religious, but, you know, like I said in the beginning, maybe depending on how nice the house is, I could give up wearing the cross. Like, if that's the sticking point in the negotiations here, you know, it's like, hey, you get to live in this dope mansion. Hell yeah, bro. We got heated pool.
Right.
Damn, we got a bar in the back garden for hosting. We got trampoline built into the garden. This
Weird
place
house.
is popping. We've got 16 bedrooms. This is a mansion. You can't bring any religious iconography in here. It will go on fire in seconds. I'll be like, I could live with that. Like, is there going to be any other weird stuff? No, as long as you aren't loud and proud about wearing a cross or whatever, it'll be fine.
I don't know. That sounds like a slippery slope, though, where it's kind of like, yeah, look, just don't wear the cross. Don't pray. You do have to sacrifice something, for sure, once a month. Otherwise, the house will start kicking up.
Very infrequently.
Bob goes on to write in a new passage. I was startled awake by a loud pounding on the wall directly behind my head coming from the crawl space. This area was behind the wall and was used for storage through a small access door. I began to read the Bible aloud in a very strong voice. You'd think that I would have been terrified at this point, and to be truthful, a part of me was. But I drew so much strength from the words I was reading, it seemed as if I was firing a spiritual machine gun into the crawl space.
I like the idea because he wrote this. You know, he gets to use artistic license.
Sure.
He's like, I started reading the Bible in a strong voice. In reality, he was like, Paul's letters to the Corinthians. Like, absolutely shitting himself.
Yeah, he makes it sound like he's in a Die Hard movie, pointing two biblical AKs at the wall, just letting fire.
Spiritual machine guns.
This went on for some time. The next time I awoke, it was almost daylight, and I immediately felt an irritation on the right side of my neck. I then went downstairs to the bathroom in our bedroom and looked in the mirror to see 3 long, deep scratches on my neck. I showed Lisa the scratches in the morning, and she responded with disbelief. She couldn't know that she'd eventually experienced similar wounds of her own.
Move out. Move out. If you've got open wounds after, 8 hours of sleep, move out.
Yeah, you're not getting restful sleep. You're waking up more injured than you were before. The house is winning. The house is winning at this point. If you're spending your evenings reading the Bible to a wall, you've lost the fight, brother. Just move out. Now, all of this paranormal activity climaxed with what I believe is the scariest recorded account in Bob's book. We've talked before on this podcast about children being able to perceive paranormal entities better than humans. And that's exactly what happened one night when Bob's son walked past the Blue Room. Bob wrote, I heard what sounded like loud gasps of a child who was drowning. I immediately ran to the steps and up to the second floor to find little Colin standing in front of the Blue Room, shaking like a leaf in terror. gasping loudly for air.
Wow.
Monster! Monster will get me! He gasped as he pointed to the blue room. His mouth was wide open, as if he was trying to scream, but he couldn't. I went into the blue room and said in a loud, firm voice, "I've had enough of you! You are a coward going after a child!" In my mind, I could almost hear it laughing at me. Why would it care if I called it a coward? It was all about hurting, terrorizing, and if possible, killing innocent children.
Whoa!
I felt foolish, and at that moment, impotent against it. I realized that it had accomplished its purpose. It had scored a direct hit on me, and it was probably standing there laughing at me. When the stench wafted over me, I knew it had just experienced a major victory. It had found my greatest weakness.
Did he shit himself? What happened?
No, no. It's like the stench of evil.
When I heard the laugh, I evacuated my bowels, knowing that I had lost the battle, but not the war.
As my trousers filled with doo-doo, I know the beast had won. No, I think he means the smell of evil. I think he talks a few times about a stench in the house. Okay. He might be shitting and pissing himself. I don't know. But I think whatever this horrible smell is, it's like the demon flexing.
I like that he seems to be coming to the realization that I don't care how firm your voice is. The Bible shit isn't working.
Right.
You've done it a few times now. his son is like, it's like, Dad, there's a monster in there that tried to kill me. He's like, stand out of the way, son. I've got a verse just for the occasion. It's like, Dad, it didn't work last time. Bobby Jr. is in the hospital. It twisted his neck like a Action Man head. You need to do something physical, real.
All right, yes, you might laugh at this because it is written in a very dramatic fashion, but this was really affecting the family in a number of serious ways. Bob and his family became increasingly hostile, and eventually his wife, Lisa, along with two of the children, reportedly experienced mental issues which required hospitalization.
Right, so they had some kind of nervous breakdown type situation.
I think so.
Okay.
But if you think what's happened so far is bad, let me tell you the worst is yet to come. Because one night in 2003, the house would go as far as to take a life. That's right. We're going to hear exactly what happened right after a quick word from today's sponsors. All right, welcome back. We are talking about the demon of Brownsville Road. While Bob's elderly aunt was visiting the house, Bob had a fight with his oldest son that escalated to the point where his son attacked him.
Bobby, if you don't eat that damn chicken.
The chicken is levitating, Dad. I can't put my fork in it because it's floating around the kitchen table. I said there was a ghost day one before we moved into the house.
I just can't believe he's actually fighting with his kid.
Yeah, he actually did have a fight. And I think it was bad. I don't know the context of the fight. All I know is in the end, it was bad enough that the police had to get involved. And I think Bob was arrested.
Oh, well, this is... You made it sound as if the son took a swing at his old man. He abused his children.
No, I don't know. I don't know the
kid.
context of what happened. It was a domestic dispute.
The dad... A domestic dispute? Yeah, between a kid and his dad?
I think there was a ghost involved too.
Oh my goodness. Bob has lost the plot.
Bobby hit his son with those spiritual machine guns. Riddled him with bullets. The next morning when they woke up, they discovered Bob's aunt had died in her sleep.
Wow.
Bob knew that he'd put up with about as much as he could and decided it was time to get the professionals involved. So with nowhere else to turn, he reached out to the Catholic Church. And let me tell you, if you think this entity was angry before, wait until a gang of priests knock on the front door.
You know how many crucifixes are entering that house?
It's not going to be a good time. You were throwing matches on a pile of gasoline.
I like to imagine, the Catholic priests that we might have encountered at secondary school, nice guys. I believe the chaplain of my primary school, he was a really nice guy.
Charlie?
Rest his soul. No. He loved Elvis. That was his thing. He was real old. And so he'd come into school with an acoustic guitar and he'd be like, check out this one. I get him down. And he would like play for the kids and stuff. It was cool. What I'm saying is, I wonder if...
I don't know why that's weird. I don't like that.
The priests. It was a bit of fun. The
No.
priests who...
I don't know. You shouldn't want to dress like Elvis
He
the
didn't
Pelvis
dress like Elvis.
and also be a priest.
He didn't
I
dress
don't
like
know.
Elvis. He dressed like a regular priest. I think he might have picked up a guitar that was already in the school and was like, hey, you guys ever heard this one? A down, down. What I'm saying is,
Okay.
I wonder if the priests who come to solve a problem like this
Yeah.
aren't the a down, down.
They're not the Elvis priest. They're not wearing blue
type priest.
jeans.
I think these ones are like the squad in Sicario.
Right.
Yeah, they might have like a priest collar, but they also have a bulletproof vest, tactical Oakleys,
Right.
maybe a gun.
Oh, yeah. Not spiritual. Real. Real,
Like,
real guns.
It is the Roman Catholic Church's kind of SWAT team, if
Yeah.
you will.
The SEAL Team 6 that you're bringing in there. I haven't actually seen pictures of the crew, but I do have some information on them because when Bob contacted the Catholic Church for help, the case was assigned to Father Ron Langwin.
Okay, could still be a badass.
Langwin assembled an Avenger-style team of priests to visit the property and investigate whether or not this place was really evil.
Langwin is what you say your name is if you're a penguin trying to pass for a human.
Right. If you're 4 penguins trying to get into an R-rated movie.
My name
You're-
is Mr. Langwin.
Langwin. To cut a long story short, they said it was haunted. And over the next 2 years, the Catholic Church were working in the house trying to abolish whatever this spirit was. I'm sure these guys were doing a great job, but all I'm saying is, if it's taken 2 years to get this demon banished, I'm gonna bring in some other guys. As I said, the priest tried for 2 years to banish the evil, but if anything, it was only making things worse. Here's another section from the book describing the house at the time. I tried to get my head on straight, but I wasn't able to. This thing had me in such a weakened state that it would soon be pushing us all out the door. I knew that if I left, it would win. It had driven me out once before and was on the verge of doing it again. I didn't have time to recover, because on the 13th of January, the demon began its anticipated grand attack.
Whoa.
Since Jessica and her family had moved out, the 3rd floor was vacant, and I'd been retreating to it and sleeping there for solitude.
Why is he describing this like Napoleon describing a war? He's like, they had been planning their winter offensive. I had retreated to the barracks in the north part of the house.
My mind was a mess. I also had contracted the flu and was pretty sick.
At this point in the horror movie, I would say Bob himself is possessed. He is doing all the bad things. He's mentally ill, and he's behind it all. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just throwing it out.
I came home early that afternoon to go to bed. No one was home and the house was empty. As I walked up the steps to the 3rd floor, I was struck with an unbelievable sight at the top of the stairs. All of the walls, including 2 doors, were splattered with huge drops of red blood from the ceiling to the floor. The blood was still wet and was running down the walls. It was as if someone had just taken a container and a sponge and sprinkled the walls, just as Father Mike had done numerous times with holy water. After I realized what I was looking at, I went downstairs and called Father Ron. He said, "This is the type of thing I expected, Bob.
Okay, he was Irish.
Don't be alarmed. This is the demon's way of claiming the house for evil, with its stench and the blood of death, just as we claim the house for good, with holy water and blessed incense."
Yeah, easy for you to say when it's not your house. I will say, Father Ron.
My advice is just nestle down and ignore it. You were here for 2 years. Things are worse than when you showed up, Father. Is Mike around? Is Father Mike there? This is what I'm saying. Usually, the way that priests and the church talk about God is if there's a demon in the house, you want a priest to kick down the door, throw a crucifix up and go, "Yeah!" And the whole house is like illuminated with light. And 1,000 demons burst out of the walls, completely eviscerated with the glory of the Lord. You don't want them to be on month 16 sitting around and being like, maybe if we read from Mark chapter 3, it would piss them off and we could... It's gotten so bad, they're doing negotiations. They're like, how about this? We give you Bobby Jr. Bobby Jr.'s yours, you can have him. Bobby Sr.'s fine. The wife you can have on
Bobby
weekends.
Jr. walks in. Hey, guy, what are you guys talking about?
Oh, slam the Bible shut. Nothing.
It was a giant diagram of Bobby Jr. on a altar. Yo, was that me just then? No.
At one point, it really sounds like Bob was losing his mind. In his own writing, he talks about wandering around the house, loudly reciting Bible verses in every room to no one.
You've tried this! You've tried this at every turn and it hasn't worked. Things are worse than before.
At one point, he put on a DVD of Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ and let it loop non-stop for 6 months.
I kind of love how recent this is. Like, I love that like 2000s energy to this, which makes it feel very real. Because I think we could picture ourselves being Bobby Jr. in this situation. That's our childhood, is the early 2000s. So this is very real compared to a story in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, putting on an audio tape of the Bible, basically just on repeat in all the different rooms. Yeah, there's something very modern and weird about this. You assume it's in the 60s or something. And honestly, there's so much other weird shit that I didn't mention in this book. The book is huge. At one point, they started finding the kids' toys inside of the walls.
Yo.
With just no idea of how they got there.
Well, we haven't even touched on if the kids are possessed, but go off.
Lots of crazy stuff happening. You can still find this book. It's available online. I believe it's called The Demon of Brownsville Road. The infestation of the house would come to an end, finally, in February 2006, when I believe the demon within the house was finally exorcised.
Yo, what did it take? Oh, we just turned the mains on and off again. Yeah, he didn't
reset
like that.
it.
Scared him.
We just cut the string on the light in the closet. We just cut it.
That was his soul. His soul was in the string.
That was his dick. We chopped it off and he died. That's why he kept wrapping it around the light. He wanted you guys to touch it and yank it. That's all it was.
That's the only explanation.
The string was his dick.
What a
It
villain.
took us 2 years to figure that out.
What a villain. But Bob is like, what do you want from me? You've been yanking me off for 2 years and you didn't even realize it. Oh my God. What have I been doing?
Oh, God.
My son touches that light, you sick
Unfortunately, Bob's life since has still been plagued with bad luck and misfortune. However, after a decade of the house being evil-free, it's actually now open as a bed and breakfast. It's now called the Brownsville Road House, and I believe you can go online and book a stay, even in the Blue Room.
It's smart, because it works on two sides. You know, you got guests checking in who don't know the history, and you got guests checking in who do know the history. Kind of works both ways.
Yeah, and I would have said that this is a bit of a red flag at the end of our case, because obviously now we're seeing a situation where there was an incentive to create a haunted house.
Yeah.
If you're going to eventually let people stay there, now it has an appeal to it for a certain demographic.
Yep.
However, it's interesting to note that apparently ghost hunters and paranormal investigators are not permitted to stay at the house, just in case they, quote, reignite the paranormal issues.
Or they find that there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever.
Yeah, didn't actually think about that.
Publicly broadcast that to the world, thus ending the bed and breakfast business.
Yeah, that actually is a possibility. I kind of took it at face value where I was like, of course, that's so responsible of him.
I hear what you're saying. You know, hey, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. I will say it is going to be hard for us to try and separate Bob's business ventures, plural,
Sure.
since the haunting, the book and the B&B.
Yeah, that's true. I actually forgot about the book as well. Well, let's talk about maybe an explanation of why this place would be haunted. Because I think that's what
Yes,
we're missing
please.
today is some context around the house and the alleged demon that lived there.
Did some crazy shit happen in Brownsville over the ages?
Well, Bob's book does talk about the history of the house. Allegedly, it was home to an old local doctor that performed a lot of, at the time, illegal and dangerous abortions in the house.
Okay. I thought you were going to say, at the time, legal, but now crazy. No, it was illegal at the time.
Yes, illegal at the time.
Okay.
However, while newspaper articles and records can prove that this doctor likely did exist in the general area in history, there's no evidence to prove that he lived or performed any of these operations at the Brownsville Road house.
Wild accusations.
Yeah, pretty far out there. But that's why people try and... That's really the only explanation I've seen as to why there is some sort of dark and spooky past to this place.
Yeah.
You know, it's very easy to move into the skepticism and the cons. You know, past residents who have lived in this house claim to have never experienced any paranormal activity before. You know, historians kind of doubt the legitimacy of the claims that there was this doctor that lived in this house. There's really not a lot of proof or a paper trail to prove any of the claims that Bob has made in his book. So without that, we're kind of just left with this situation where, sure, look, we have a lot of testimonies today to show us that there could be paranormal activity in the house. We just don't really have an explanation as to why this paranormal activity is happening.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it isn't happening. It just means that us as humans, we don't know the history behind why it's happening.
Yeah.
It could be 2 families ago, they were Satanists and they summoned a demon and we just don't know about it. Maybe there's a crucifix in the attic under a rug we don't know about. Maybe it's on ley lines. There's a lot of explanations as to why this is happening.
There is. It's something we always look for because humans are storytelling creatures. Podcasts are storytelling audio mediums.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps to have a story. We want a story as humans.
Yeah.
But I personally, I don't love or need to get bogged down in the whys. I think it doesn't really matter. I think the existing model that we all understand of ghosts perfectly accepts that just, look, all it takes is one pissed off guy to die in a house and you've got a poltergeist forever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter, I don't think. But if we are in the game, which we are, of coming down on hard paranormal conclusions, doesn't help us prove anything, doesn't point us in the right direction. So it means the evidence has to be all the more convincing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think one crucial difference with this case and other poltergeist cases is what we are supposedly dealing with today is not a poltergeist. It is not a ghost or a spirit. It is a demon.
Right.
I think they even, at one point, they figure out what demon they think it is. And they're like, yeah, it's like Mersalor or something. I don't know the name of it. But they're like, yeah, he's in the Bible. He eats kids or whatever. He loves little BJ, apparently. So, they go as far as to like think they've isolated what the monster is.
Crazy.
Which, I don't know, does that make it fine that we don't have a backstory? Because then it's not someone who died in the house 100 years ago. It's just this little goat-footed, hooved guy running around the crawl space. I don't know.
It is cool. And as I say, that's why I love these Catholic freaks kind of... I like their 2 cents on the subject. I like that there's people who care about this, who spend actual time with people afflicted by the paranormal in paranormal locations, writing, reporting. I think that's cool. Whether you believe their conclusions or not, I think that's pretty dope that someone's trying to figure that out. It's more data than we've ever had to go on. I mean, I don't think we've ever come across a specific biblical demon.
No, I don't,
terrorizing a space before.
Maybe we need to look into that more often.
I mean, we tried to summon one at a live podcast in London.
Yes.
Unsuccessfully.
Heyman, we actually did, yeah. I sacrificed my original Ancient Mew Pokemon card to try and bring him to life, and he didn't show up.
Do you know what the crazy thing was you did end up actually losing that card.
Yeah, that was worrying.
Successfully did sacrifice it. Like, that shit is in hell now.
It is gone. Yeah, that's a little bit
that
worrying.
Per Pokemon card.
The nice thing was I lost it, talked about it on a podcast, and a fan who listens to the show sent me in their replacement. They had a spare one and they sent it in, and it's literally in my phone case right now.
So sorry to tell you, listener of This Paranormal Life, you sacrificed your card to payment.
You're going to hell. Yeah. Because they're going to say, well, who's the owner of this card? And it's like, well, it's not me. Because I have this one, but who's missing one now? Oh, it's this lady over here. Yeah. I think what's really cool about this story is if you actually go back to the email that we read at the start from Margaret, they said, I used to be acquainted with a Catholic demonologist, and you might find a case that he worked on interesting. Oh. I wonder if this demonologist was one of the priests that was brought in to look at the house.
Wow, really could be.
So cool. So, Margaret, thank you for emailing this in along with everyone else. I'd love a follow-up email if you still listen to the podcast 5 years later to see if your friend was one of these priests and if they have any more information or photographs.
I mean, honestly, they could we're going to give our conclusions to what we think about this case. They can give us the Catholic Church's conclusion.
Yeah, which I think they said, yes, it's haunted and yes, we banished the demon. But elephant in the room here, of course, if all of this paranormal activity happened and it was done so recently, where's the photographs? Where are the videos? I think I found one picture of the quote unquote blood splattered on the wall. And let me tell you, if that was the real photograph, it's like 3 drops.
Yeah.
We're not talking shining elevator doors opening.
Yes.
There's not a lot really to go on.
I hear what you're saying, Rory. We need to break into the Vatican because the Vatican archives
I didn't say that.
will have, you're telling me they didn't bring cameras? It was 2003. They had practically iPhones. We break into the Vatican, get into the archives. I've been to the Vatican. I did have a snoop around. I didn't see the archives, but I'd say we could find the demonology department and, probably chloroform the people, the armed guards, presumably.
Right. You want to like National Treasure style.
Yep.
Get in there, Nicolas Cage, steal the Declaration of Independence.
Yep.
I'm into this. I'm actually into this. Because that's the thing about stealing from the Catholic Church. You can kind of flip their own shit back on them. So if you get caught, they're like, whoa, didn't he say to turn the other cheek? To forgive? To, forgive the sins of others? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did, motherfucker.
Other cheek. They tase both your ass cheeks. Whoa!
Look, I don't think we need to spend too much time debating at the end of this podcast. Where's the photos? Where's the videos? If this happened merely 10, 20 years ago, we really should have more evidence available to the public. Unless Kit says it's locked off in the Vatican vaults somewhere. But if that's the case, until we see those files, I don't think I can comfortably say that I truly believe Bob's story today. I would have actually liked to hear more from the Catholic demonologists and, third parties, because a lot of the information comes directly from Bob and his book.
I mean, you think if there was photos, Bob wouldn't have printed them in the damn book?
100%. Yeah, so it's telling that we really
Hard sell.
don't have a lot. What are your thoughts today, Kit?
Completely agree. Appreciate your candidness, your straightforwardness, your honesty, Rory, that you've put effort into this, and it's been a roller coaster ride. I really liked this. Lots of cool twists and turns, and a lot of legitimacy from this real proper investigation from the Catholic Church. Liked that a lot. But absolutely, way too recent to be missing that physical evidence, which is so, I'm not going to rant about ghost cases, but this is the problem.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And we're not going to get into it, but hey, maybe this is the nature of ghost cases. Maybe you just can't get pictures. Maybe that's why this is the way it goes.
Yeah. And, there have been ghosts and paranormal and spiritual poltergeist cases that have been convincing enough that even without photographs, we still have said yes.
Sure.
We have come down on a yes. I just don't think today is one of those cases. Not for me personally.
True.
But thank you, Margaret. Please do get in touch if you have any more information from your friend. Any updates? Happy to revisit the conclusions if more evidence comes to light. But this week, the Demon of Brownsville Road is a double no. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Even though it was a double no, I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, and hey, on the note of reopening cases when new evidence comes to light and reinvestigating conclusions, if you don't know, This Paranormal Life is funded by the community over at patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. Over there's a ton of amazing rewards on all the tiers, whether it's bonus episodes, extra content, merchandise. But one of the things we do is an extra monthly bonus episode available exclusively to our patrons. And this month, we did a really cool thing, which was for the first time, we opened up a cold case.
And not a case of cold ones. That's just a regular Tuesday.
Yeah.
We opened a case that we had closed in the past. It's now been long. We've now been doing this show long enough that either new evidence has come to light or simply our brains have fully formed from when we first covered the case that we need to re-examine.
Yeah, so we went back and investigated the legend of Robert the Cursed Doll. One of our first and biggest episodes of the podcast, investigating a doll with a pretty terrifying backstory. But it was great. We got to dive back and take a nostalgic look at the original episode, which formed a lot of quite famous and long-lasting TPL jokes. It was an absolute blast. And we even brought some new evidence to light, talked about some recent experiences people had with Robert the Doll. It was a ton of fun. So if you love some of those older This Paranormal Life investigations, like Robert the Doll, and you want to experience the cold case, reopen it again, see if we came down on a different conclusion, head on over to patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. To give you an idea of what that cold case was like, here's a quick clip from the episode. It was time for him to leave home to further his studies. So he moved to Paris to pursue his career in the arts. However, after only a few short years of living abroad, Gene eventually moved back to West Key, Florida with his new wife. When they entered the large doors of the old Victorian home, guess who was waiting for him? Robert the Doll. Now, despite essentially being a grown man at this point, Gene was still strangely attached to the doll. In fact, so much so that he even set up a small room in the house filled with furniture and fittings scaled down to Robert's size.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Ladies, sometimes you got to put the foot down. Like, he's got married, they're building a home together, and, you know, they're obviously sitting around planning their dream home. And she's like, so I was thinking these tiles for the kitchen. He's like, and he's like, oh, for sure. I love those green ones. So I was thinking this tiny chair for the tiny room. She's like, the tiny room?
Tiny room?
Yeah, you know.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Babe, where's Robert going to sleep?
Right, yeah.
Who the is Robert, babe? Babe, hold your tongue. He's sitting right there. Very good.
Oh, it was such a fun episode. It was the first, but it won't be the last cold case we do. So if that sounds like fun to you, or you think there's an episode of the podcast that you really want us to go back and revisit over on Patreon, let us know. And of course, over there on Patreon, one of the other really cool rewards that you can get is your own personal shout out at the end of the episode. And that's what we're going to do right now. So thank you to Kaylee Dunn.
Kaylee Dunn did it. Whatever you could think of doing, Kaylee Dunn did it already.
Have they run a marathon?
Have they run a marathon? Yes. When they were 5 years old.
Oh,
Next.
Jesus. Have they, I don't know, done a cartwheel?
5 years old. Next.
Okay, well...
they got a lot done at 5, yeah.
We could do it. Did they pass their driving test?
Kaylee sadly passed away at 15 before they were able to pass their driving test. So it's actually a bit of a sad thing. So.
Did they die? Yes. They done it.
That's
they
how
done
you
life.
do it all. They did life. Thank you, Kaylee.
Rest in peace, Kaylee. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you also to Caroline Sparrow. Caroline Sparrow, captain of the Silver Pearl.
Right. Yeah,
That's
like Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, well, it's a bit more complicated than that. Yeah.
Not too many pirates named Caroline.
But that's how you trick them.
Pass the rum, Carol.
That they think that this isn't a formidable pirate. They're like, oh, Caroline Sparrow. And then Caroline comes out with jewel cutlasses, cutting throats, stabbing people, stealing gold. You know, you don't want to mess with Carol.
Wow.
Carol also is the survivor of 16 mutinies. Their crew almost entirely turns on them day 2, 3 into a voyage. So they very often have had to fire themselves out of a cannon just to get away from the ships. But we're glad to have you with us, Carol. Thank you also to Corey.
Corey, a name so close to Rory and yet so different. I mean, could you imagine what your life would have been like if you were called Corey Powers?
Well, I probably...
Damn, you'd be a lot cooler. Oh, shit.
Probably pretty similar.
No. Like, Rory Powers is like... And then Corey Powers is like, jacked and gets hella chicks.
Corey is a cool name, to be fair. If my name was Corey, it wouldn't have taken me this long to get a puka shell bracelet.
Yeah, you know that.
I would have been born with it, and I probably would have really beautiful locks of hair, you know,
Right.
like the surfer
Have
waves.
you ever grown your hair out? Why don't you do that?
I don't think I've ever grown my hair out. I don't think it would look good.
That feels like, holy shit, we need to put AI to work to see what Rory would look like. That's crazy, bro.
I think I would look too much like the handsome prince from Shrek 2. Like, kind of weird, you know?
Corey, send us a photo. Let us know if the rumors are true and you are jacked and handsome.
And if you ever make it to London, you can have Phil's puka shell bracelet because he's not using it.
It's up for grabs, for sure.
Thank you also to Cohen Wojcicki. All right, now imagine this. Imagine your name was Cohen Greer,
Mulvanna.
and Corey Powers. Now that would be
I
pretty
don't know
cool.
if it changes a lot, honestly. I think Kit is kind of S tier, actually.
Well, S tier because it's close to shit.
Shit
Kit,
Greer,
shit. Yeah.
actually.
Whereas like Cohen is quarterback of the football
What's
team.
that, boys?
Cohen. Yo, what's up? My name's
I
Cohen.
don't know if Cohen is quarterback. I feel like Cohen is more of a surfer.
No, that's Corey. Corey's the surfer. Cohen's the
Hey, baby names are a
quarterback who
tricky
hits he hits the fucking straight A's
Yeah.
and then he hits the winning touchdown
Is
throw.
straight A is cool now? Hard to say.
I think it is.
Oh.
I'm glad we have so many cool people listening to the podcast. Cohen, if you ever come to London, you can have Kit's puka shell bracelet.
No, that's not true. That's a funny joke though. Well, it's not that funny.
And thank you finally today to Jordan Evans.
Can you imagine if Phil was called Jordan? What would that even
That would be sick,
look
actually.
like?
Yo,
What
Jay.
would that? Yo, Jay.
Jay, that's a cool. Oh yeah.
Yo, JS.
I like it a lot.
Jordan. I mean, a namesake of the great MJ, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
So
Can
Jordan,
you hoop, Jordan? Because the Paranormal Communes basketball team is lacking in both skill and nutrition. So we really need a ringer. Because if the 1990s / early 2000s movie Space Jam has taught me anything, it's that one person can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Is that person Bugs Bunny? No, it is Michael Jordan. He was the one that brought them to victory. So we're hoping that you can be the Jordan of our team.
We don't stand a chance against most countries, but we think if we put our all into it, we could have a fighting chance against the North Korean basketball team.
We're hoping, really hoping, because they have beaten us 6 years running at this point. But thank you, Jordan. Thank you to everyone who supports us on Patreon. If you want to check out some cool rewards, like the ones that we just mentioned, or want to check out some special episodes, like The Cold Case or our weekly after party episodes, head on over to patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. Thank you for listening to today's investigation, and we will be back next week with another one. I was talking for so long and you weren't engaging at all because you were like trying to wrap up. And I was like, remember mice movies? You're
Yeah,
like,
so,
"All right, thank
I
you,
haven't seen any of these, by the way.
You haven't seen any of those movies?
We gotta start.
You're doing it again.
It don't imagine. Yeah, the next episode starts and you're still talking about
So
it.
Basil was a mouse, but he was basically Sherlock Holmes.